This guide is going to be focused on the thought process and steps for giving your gunner's angle, and not on what buttons or mouse motions you need to perform certain maneuvers. I feel maneuvers can be covered better in their own individual videos where technical details can be focused on and better explained. But let's just get started with the steps you need to follow. Step number 1 is finding the general location of your target or enemy. Let's imagine the scenario where you get hit by an enemy fighter in your Liberator. What do you see? What do you hear? You can hear what direction you're getting hit from. It's hard for new pilots to be able to discern the different sounds, but you can. And also, if the fighter is close enough to you, you can also hear the thrusters of that particular fighter, and that also gives you positional awareness. Is he above you? Is he below you? Is he to your west? Is he to your east? But along with the audio cues, you get visual cues, right? Right as you're getting hit, you see the red indicators right next to your aiming reticle, and this by itself gives you a great start in letting you know which direction you should be turning your belly in general. But you even get even more tidbits of information on where your enemy is, because sometimes their tracers are going to be flying past you, right, in certain directions, and all you have to do is reverse that tracer and you know exactly where he's coming from. If a tracer is flying right to left, then you know that enemy fighter is to your right. If a tracer is coming from behind and flies straight in front of you, then of course he's behind you. And all of this information is even without the insane and OP thing of spotting. Especially if you have a full lib, you're going to have your tail gun spotting, you're going to have your belly gun spotting, and right when they spot an enemy fighter, you're going to get minimap information, which automatically gives you where they are on the minimap, and you're going to get positional audio relative to where you are, so where they are compared to you, as well as what direction they're facing. So, or if you spot an enemy lib, is he looking at you, or is he looking the other way, opposite of you? Is he running away, or is he actively trying to go after you? This is all extremely important and very useful information to know if you should continue running or if you should counterattack, you know. So spotting information and all of these audio and visual cues gives you all the information you need to figure out where you should initially give angle for your gunners. Now, after you give your initial angle and you point your belly in the general direction of your target, the target's not going to stay still. He's going to move around and you're going to have to adjust. And now this brings us to phase 2, which is adjusting to your target. Let's go back to what happened in our imaginary scenario. We got hit by an enemy fighter, and now he's spotted. You pointed your belly in the right general direction, and then your gunner spotted the target for you. Let's say this is a pretty good ESF pilot. He's not really threatened by you. He goes straight towards you. He's still flying towards you, and so you're a new lib pilot, new lib crew. What the hell you do? So now this is where fine-tuning your angle and using all the things you learned in the initial phase in the secondary phase. So you're still doing the exact same things essentially. You're still using sound to give you audio indicators of where that ESF is. You still have to keep an eye on the minimap for where is that ESF moving, and also it lets you know when he's running away, when he's facing you. But the main thing to focus on as well that's different than the initial phase is that now in particular, you should always be doing this, but now in particular in phase 2, when you're fine-tuning your angles, you have to pay attention to where your belly gun is facing. And your goal in life as a lib pilot should be to do whatever it takes to give your gunner angle. If your belly gun doesn't have angle, especially when in situations where your belly gun is the only hope, then you're making a mistake as a lib pilot. Now, let's go back again to that imaginary dogfight with that good ESF. So your decision making, like in most lib runs anyway, are going to be key to winning. And you know, lib piloting is full of so many of these little micro decisions that affect whether you're going to live or die in a certain situation. So in a dogfight like this, you're going to need all the information you can get to make good decisions, to make informed decisions, right? So just like in phase 1, in the initial part, you're using the exact same audio cues, visual cues. By this time, your enemy fighter is spotted, so you see him on the minimap. So in general, I'm going to try and stay my belly above that ESF. Just as a general rule, you know, just so my gunner in general has angle against that ESF. But as that ESF reverse maneuvers and moves around, you have to look at a bunch of things at the same time and also listen as well. You have to look at the minimap, see where the ESF is reverse maneuvering relative to you, and so you know where your belly gun should be facing and also where your nose should be facing, so you can fly above that ESF in that direction. But it's not just the minimap, right? You also have on the right side the diagram of the lib, and I think this is one of the more underrated things to use, especially with new pilots. They don't even probably use it at all. But if you notice on the right side diagram of the lib, you see your gunners and also you see what direction they're facing. It also tells you what they're doing as well, you know. If the gun is constantly spinning around and your gunner is looking everywhere, that means he's confused and that you probably need to slow down and just stop. And you know, that gives your gunner time to acquire his target again. It's very important to be constantly looking at your belly gun and seeing where he is facing and following where his belly gun is pointing. Because as long as he has freedom to move, he will have angle. Whenever you see your belly gun off to one direction and he's shooting, but he's stuck and he hasn't been shooting for a couple of seconds, especially, you know, with these belly guns, your reload speed is only like 2 seconds. And if he's not shooting, then give him a little bit more angle so he has more freedom to move around. Always give more angle than you think you need to, especially when you're starting out, and especially if you're in an inexperienced crew where the communication between pilot and gunners isn't as great. So always keep an eye on the belly gun while focusing on all the other indicators we've been talking about in the peripheral. Once you get used to using all these things at once, you can think of giving angle as like driving. What do you do when you're driving? You constantly check your mirrors, right? And when you're giving angles, you can think of looking at your minimap, of, you know, listening, of using your sound cues, of using your visual cues for the red markers and just what you see in general. You can use, you know, the diagram to your right where your gunners are facing, but also, you know, let's not forget you have voice communication with your gunners, and that is probably the biggest thing for giving angles. Like all these peripheral stuff, it fine-tunes your ability to give your gunner angle a high percentage of the time. I can tell you right now, for Mustard and I in particular, he's gonna have angle when he needs it most of the time, and when he doesn't have angle, I usually have a reason. Like I either can't get in a particular spot, or I'm just running and like I just can't, like I have to fly in a certain direction, so I can't give him angle in a particular spot. But having that gunner communication of, you know, if he doesn't just say no angle, but he says, oh, pitch up a little bit, I know exactly what to do and how to adjust, and all of this is just going to take time to get better at. But hopefully this all gave you an initial idea of what you should be doing and what you should be paying attention to. Honestly, it's going to take just raw experience, because you have to incorporate so many things, so many different things, audio things, minimap things, visual things, all at the same time, right? And gunner communication on top of all that. As long as you focus on these audio cues and visual cues and all these things as you go forward as a lib pilot, then you're going to develop really, really good habits. And I guarantee that, you know, any of the top level pilots in the game that have flown in the past or stopped flying or anything used all of these things. So sorry for the extremely rambly tips video, but I hope it was helpful in general. In the future, I'll probably try and make some videos on the actual technical aspects of giving angles, you know, like what buttons you need to press and things like that, because I know some people probably don't know what particular buttons to press, because it honestly depends on your airframe as well. I hope you guys look forward to that. Again, like in most tips videos, especially a topic as complicated as this one, I could make a part 2 and answer questions if you guys do have questions. So let me know on Twitter or in the comments section. On Twitter it's at miendudeplays. And so yeah, so maybe I can make a part 2 and answer questions, because this is a pretty insane topic and hard to explain and hard to learn as well, and hard to show like particular things on it. So yeah, don't be afraid to let me know what you guys thought and what questions you guys have, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.